saying that an idle hand is the devil's not only workshop, is the devil's enclave. Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, we are still on Morning Flight on OGBC 90.5 FM. Still on the discuss our guest, Mr. Dele Akinshola, and we are still looking at the emergence of the new terrorist group in Nigeria and the need to take decisive action. Now, I was about asking you the other time that the group has been in existence for over 2 decades now. So why has it just been discovered?
Yes, they came in not as insurgents anyway. They came in, with this ideology, under the guise of religion, Islamic religion, and all of that. And they tried to sell their ideology. They tried to propagate their ideology, so that the locals, the people too, they were unsuspecting of their real intention, and so they bought into it, and then they now had converts. But you see, they left. When they left when we had this superior insurgent group, what they call it, Boko Haram. The attention, from them in that zone, to Boko Haram, and then they too they couldn't operate. They have not even really at that time they were not even prepared to launch offensives, on Nigeria or on Nigerians. But again, once the coup, like I said, that took place in Niger, Mali, and all of that happened. Like I said, this collapsed, and so way the Nigeria could deploy security agencies, to the border of Niger Republic, because Niger Republic could see them as enemy soldiers, forces, and then they will hack them down. And so it's a dangerous zone for them to operate. And so they took advantage of that. And you see, like I said, when the government at that time, they knew that these people were in existence, and they knew that, well, they are trying to propagate a kind of ideology that's maybe strange to people and all of that, and they were giving money out and all of that. So the government is entirely the fault of the government at the time, not to have and to see whether their intentions are real. And so they were all caught napping, both the government and they were all caught napping. But you see, like I said, they left, and then the coup, brought them back. They now took advantage of having to relaunch, their operations.
Now, had some main issues there. One of them is undergoverned areas, particularly the border areas. You also told us why those areas, have been undergoverned. The military operation, the breakdown military operation, the joint military operation in those border areas, which is very important. Border areas must have that in place to ensure that they are not porous, to criminal elements. But now we have those, that is happening now, not just in the northeastern state and parts of Nigeria, even in other border areas across Nigeria. Most of those areas are undergoverned. Presence of government may not be effectively present there, and that poses a great threat. That's number one. You also mentioned the issue of religion. When they come under the guise of religion, like what that prof I quoted earlier mentioned, he said that they came to propagate religious ideologies. They were attended by the local community who also shared their faith and said, look, we even have bandits problem here. Will you come and help us. And they said, no problem, let's come in. And they came in. And before you know what's happening, they started, doing their own things and became, a threat to the communities. Now, we have identified under government in those areas. We have also identified religion. These are issues that must be spoken to. What do you say to that?
Yes, exactly. Coupled with the issue of the under governance that I was talking about, is also the issue of poverty. When people are neglected, when people are abandoned to their fate, and the government does not, the government has completely abdicated its responsibility, to the people. Some of them in government, they just believe that governance, begins and starts, at the capital, state capital, or maybe headquarters of a local government, and that is all. You see, in time it was that the federal government of Nigeria, I don't know whether that border commission, National Border Commission, is still in existence anyway, because we don't really feel their presence anyway. You see, the National Border, the Boundary Commission and all of that should be able to put in place, some infrastructure and be able to make sure that the borders between Nigeria and some other neighboring countries, Benin Republic, Cameroon, Niger, and all of that, they be able to make sure that they are properly demarcated and they create a zone that they cannot cross to this. I don't know what they call it again in the military parlance, that they call such a zone. And so, if like in Ogun State here, for example, there was a threat. When after so many decades, government has not deemed it fit. The state government at that in those periods, in those years, they didn't deem it fit to go and put structures in place in that place and take over the place, so that the Republic people will know that there is a school here, there is a health center here, there is a police post here, and there is all of those things there. When there was a threat, by the Republic they wanted to take over, Togoya, because there was oil was discovered there, and that's the case all over. I've been to Ilara, the border of Ogun State with Benin Republic, Ilara after Imeko, up to Iwuiye, all of those axes. I went there several times. If I was a reporter, I was covering those areas. I was going there, having particular interest in how the border communities have been abandoned and neglected. You will be surprised that the Nigerians, it's easier for them to go to school in neighboring countries, to go and look for water, to go and as common as water. They cannot. There's no borehole in such border communities to take care of their needs. So they rely on getting water from neighboring countries. It is as bad as that. And not to talk of even the commercial aspect of it. And so in those areas, you don't have local government. They don't even bother to go and establish markets there to make sure that things are working and all of that. So, but the one of the serious problems again that we have on our hands, apart from poverty, apart from under governance, and then the access to quality education, is the issue of religion. Interfaith dialogue, has not been in existence for some time. We hear of it when the election is approaching. Then you now have what they call this national body headed by retired General Abdulsalami Abubakar, heading this peace committee and all of that. But you see, interfaith, they should be able to make sure that all these different sects in the north are brought together, but they are not doing it. So because they just allow them to operate on their own, this one will come, and then that one will come, and all of that. In fact, that, like you said, is even dating back to more than 30 years ago. Of even more than that, 40 years. I regard in 1980 or 81 or so, there's this Matasine, that reared its ugly head in Kano. And so it's not today. Nigeria has been so vulnerable. Our borders are poorly policed. They are not taken care of, and so they've always been infiltrating, our borders and then
Yes.
coming in with ease,
Yeah.
and then to come and establish.
Now,
Remember, that when Boko Haram came and they have taken over some local governments in Bondo, they had that effrontery, they had that impunity to host their flag,
Yeah.
to say, okay, we have taken over this local government, and there's nothing you can do. It took serious military action, to be able to dislodge them. And as we speak, they've not been able to rout them out of existence completely in Borno State. They are still holding on to some communities.
okay, now, in all of what you have said, is there any difference from existing organizations in terms of ideology, policies, tactics, and objectives? Has that been any different?
No, not really. But the only difference is that Boko Haram came. They didn't come, trying to spread any ideology. They had their mission statement, which was not stated as such, or let me say stated but unambiguously, was that they are anti-Western education, and so it was very clear. This Lukarawa or Lakurawa, they came in a subtle manner, like a thief in the night, and then coming to preach under the guise of spreading Islam and ideology in Islam and all of that. And our people are so gullible that they can go for anything. And like I said, where poverty is the order of the day, poverty is what is ruling there.
Anything we have.
Yeah. When they come and they give you some little change and to feed you, somebody who gives you religion, who preaches to you and gives you money, he has given you life. That as far as they are concerned, that person has given you life, because he didn't come to say, oh, let me just preachify and then say, oh, I go. No, they said, okay, well, we're also going to help you. You people are helpless. You are poverty stricken and all of that. Oh, we have resources to take care of you.
All right, Mr. Akinshola, I've just been wondering, all along we have been hearing all the military operations in the northern part of Nigeria, especially in the troubled area. We hear things like Operation Python Dance, Crocodile Tears, and you be like, when you hear such things like, action is going on.
Exactly.
But then we have not seen much difference, because if those have been, largely effective, we should not have emergence of new threats to those regions. And I want us to look at what are the possible solutions to this issue we have on our hands.
Yeah. Before coming to the possible, or let me say, practicable solutions to this intractable. I call it intractable because when in Yoruba parlance, or trying to borrow a proverb from Professor Chinua Achebe, he says, when they sleep has passed 3 days, more than 3 days, it has become dead. And so when they've allowed this insurgency to linger for decades now, they've become almost part and parcel, of our security challenges, such that every year now, government must vote, billions of naira, for to fight insecurity and all of that. And apart from that, look at the hardware, military hardware. Look at the Tucano fighter jets and all of that we imported from America, from Japan, from this and that. It costs big. In fact, it is running to trillions. So, and all with the aim of stamping out terrorism. Like you and I know, it is not a thing that is easy. Like I said, if you allow malaria to linger for too long, 1 week, 2 weeks, and you say it will go, that malaria will become migraine. From migraine, it can become something else.
Yes.
And from that, it can lead to, I don't know, it can be fatal. But you see, when our military operations, I try to look at two things that can be done. And I believe that the government of the day, particularly the military, the Nigerian armed forces, they should go back to some of their past or retired generals. I'm talking of the particular one is the ex-general or retired general Olusegun Obasanjo. In 2004, there was an insurgence. There was going to be an insurgence. A cell was already brewing in Kano. And because he's a war general, and because he knows what it takes to stamp out that thing, I don't want to talk about the nitty-gritty or what President Obasanjo did at that time. If I tell you it's mind-boggling, they should go and ask him, how did he not even tackle, how did he nip it in the bud from allowing it to they couldn't even operate for one day. And that was it. They should go back to all the retired generals, including Baba Obasanjo. I have a dialogue with them. How do we tackle this issue of insecurity in the land? To nip it in the bud. Now, don't forget, one of the handicaps the military is having is their training. I'm not saying it to derogate anybody, but I know that from the colonial era, our paramilitary and military forces are trained. Their training is tailored to the needs of the British colonial government. That those who trained us. So one, at that time, the training does not envisage the training they got. It's just like somebody who is people who have transitioned from burglars to become robbers. From robbers, they become kidnappers. In those days, does the law take cognizance or anticipate that there will be kidnapping, that there will be insurgency and all of that? So what I'm saying is that the military, for example, they are trained to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria. In other words, they are good at fighting other troops, other nations' groups, troops. But you see, to fight local wars within the community is not something that is easy. One, they cannot deploy the military firepower, on those communities because it will affect the innocent people, and so it's a big problem, and that is why the military operation so far, like you said, Operation Crocodile Smile, or dance or not dancing and all of that, cannot, but they may. But it will take a long time because one, we have what we now have now
in that situation.
What we now have is that civilian collaboration is there now. We have locals, people who are now sympathetic to the cause of those insurgents because those insurgents are taking care of them. I have intelligence, from the northern part of the country. I try to query people or interrogate issues. Parallel those who have served in that region. I'm talking of security agencies and all of that. Why is this thing lingering on? It's a shame. In fact, there was a military, a general, he's retired now. I think he lectures at Chrisland University in Abeokuta here. He's now a professor. He said, look, this insurgency can be ended. It can be ended, but the proviso, I don't want to talk about here. Now, if you have allowed people, to be able to collaborate with them, to protect them, to hide them, to give them a safe haven in their local communities, because they won't expose them. They won't talk about, we have so and so person in this house. Unlike kidnapping, you can always say, any house, like some state governments are doing now, or they come out with laws that any house that harbors kidnappers, that house will be demolished, the landlord will be prosecuted, and that it will forfeit the CFO of that land to the government. That is easier because you pointedly you can locate that. But for these Lukarawas and Boko Haram and all of that, they are, in fact, like I said, when I interrogated some people who have served in that area, they said there is a big business going on there. I asked him, say, how do you drink? He said there's no water there. That by the time they get a sachet of pure water, it's like they've got a keg or jerry can of water, and you dare not misuse it. You can't drink it. In fact, you can't finish a sachet of pure water once because at that time he said they were buying a sachet for about 300 naira or 400 naira. Not to talk of a bag. Well, when you get it, it's a luxury. And so the people who are supplying water to
big business.
They're in big business. And there are others too who are also doing some business. It was even reported and exposed that some people are supplying arms, including some of our security agencies, supplying arms, to these Boko Haram people and all of that. That is why it will be difficult, to end the war. And for all of this put together, I believe that if the government, for example, can recruit locals, like we have in some communities in the south here, hunters, like in the southwest, when there was this threat of the kidnappers of Fulani, farmer herders and all of that. They recruited, they floated a regional security outfit called Amotekun. These Amotekun, they are not military people, they are not soldiers, they are not this and that. They are civilians and they are hunters who could maybe boast of some mystical powers, to be able to confront, challenges in the bush and all of that. So until the government, can also, apart from using kinetic and non-kinetic approach, to fight this insurgent, they should look inward and recruit the people.
Yeah,
who
we need to open the lines now.
Yeah.
We need to open the lines now.
0803 437 9453 and 0815 032 0226. Emergence of new terrorist group and the need to take decisive actions has been a focus this morning with Mr. Dele Akinshola. 0803 437 9453 and 0815 032 0226 are the numbers to call to be a part of our discuss this morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning, sir.
I am seeing down calling from the shower.
Right.
I quite appreciate the discussion that I see. In fact, I'm also for that protecting the market and do better. The market of this Nicaragua or whatever it's called, I agree and appreciate the analysis, how it has come about. And God, we are communicating and threat by the Goa leader that they're going to deal with. And I believe that it has maybe part of the refugees who has also suffered an attempt to discredit leadership of the Goas and the next to do with them. And that I think one of the factors that got this about. It was still a lot of confusion to me, and I quite agree. However, I believe I want to hope that this our government is decisive action. Decide that although according to what Mr. Mahana do, fighting international security is developed from international aggression because of the high risk of collateral damage. However, I think the first strange song is required very serious treatment. People that are not require serious treatment. They have to operate it, maybe some other cells will also suffer. So unfortunately, but I hope our government will take decisive steps and stamp out this thing immediately. When there was a dog at that good other time, everybody was shouting. But sometimes it will take very decisive action. You have to cure the person. So that's why I'm for the right us. And I think that the analysis is very educated. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Elder Bow.
Elder, thank you. 0803 437 9453 and 0815 332 0226.
analysis. I've been listening to you. Now, the first thing I am saying, you have said much, but the first thing I'm saying is that insurgency is a product of military incursion into politics. We cannot rule that out. One. Two, the politicians that you have in governance now will not go to Obasanjo. That is one reality. And that is part of the reasons this man keeps writing letters, open letters, to those in government. If they will listen, but most of the times they don't listen to him. In fact, I don't used to be one of his fans because he did so many things, but security is everybody's business. And when you are talking about this the newly emerged group, Lukawas, from their history that you traced, somebody brought them. And the person who brought them, in fact, has even lost his life. He has been killed. And it has a religious angle to it. And that is one of the things certain people are fighting against. I'm not holding grief for anybody, so I don't have to mention them. Now, insurgency cannot be eliminated where the government does not care for the people. The care of the people. You know, there was a time when they said Boko Haram was even paying higher than even the federal government when Boko Haram was newly started. Boko Haram was paying people higher than the federal government at that time. The lure of money, you can't rule it out. Again, there is a foreign angle to it. And I am happy you have even mentioned that. And for your information, I have been very close to the Republic. And I know what the people there feel about Nigeria. And when you are talking about this insurgency, in fact, I'm happy you mentioned the religious angle to it. There is this effort to forcefully impose religion on people. Why do you do that? Again, the intention is to acquire their land, take over their property, using the cover of religion. Okay. And that is the reality. And so, thank you for coming, resource person. You have said so many things. I hope those in government will listen to you. And I hope some of them will be humble enough to approach former, we can't call him former general, he's on the reserve list. Yes.
It can be recalled.
And former president, we can say that. So, the man is there, and I hope Nigeria will still make use of him so that it doesn't pass on, later, and then they are not saying, this is the time Nigeria needs his service most. That he passed on when Nigeria needed his service most. His services are needed now. Okay. They are not making use of him. They are making an enemy of him.
Thank you, comrade. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Akintola, your parting shots before we release you today.
Yeah, thank you very much. In all of this, the government of the day, the federal government, state government, and local government, should be alive to their responsibilities. They owe it a constitutional duty to all the citizens of Nigeria and all parts of the country to be able to give us dividends of democracy. We mount it. we don't really demand for it, and they are not some of them they are not ready to do it. So I will advise that the military, or let me say the government of the day, should also launch what I call a counter narrative, to destroy the myth and the ideologies being spread by Lukarawas and all of those people. And how do you do that? You have to empower, economic empowerment of our youths, and then the border communities and all of that. I'm not talking of empowerment in the form of pepper grinding, loan, motorcycle, or what is it called that they push? A wheelbarrow. But there are serious empowerment. When we had the bombing of what is it called by Niger Delta militants in those days, see what the government and the federal and local government did. About 50,000 naira or more, or 100,000 naira, they are giving them, maintenance money for every in that area. And then beyond that, they also Bayelsa, for example, Bayelsa State government, sent some of their youth abroad to go and study engineering, petroleum engineering, and all of those things. That's the form of empowerment we are talking about. So those people should be to Western education, and they should see the beauty of embracing Western education and how they can have the privilege, the opportunity of working in government organizations and become better citizens. So finally, the National Orientation Agency should step up their campaign. They should take their campaign to the border communities to reorientate Nigerians, to reorientate those at the border community, not to fall for any of these foreign ideologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dele Akinshola. It's been so worthwhile having you in our studios this morning.
Very interesting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, to the production crew, Wahid Ogunjobi and Akim Solomon as editors. The lady in charge of ICT, Folake Shweto Aditope Adibo, has been the studio manager while Shalami produced. My name is Titi Lope Awubajo. Thank you sincerely for coming again.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you
Thank you very much, Mr. Datishola.
and our listeners there. Thank you very much for being a good and devoted listeners.
All right, Debo Adeyinka is my name. Please enjoy your day.